Should we be concerned for Roman Wilson? The Steelers just released their initial 2025 depth chart today, and the 2023 third-round pick was listed as the team's fifth receiver, behind Robert Woods and Scotty Miller. Don't think we had that high of expectations for either Robert Woods or Scotty Miller this year. You look at what happened with Miller last year, he was a guy we cut before the season even ended. Heading into our most important game, that wild card matchup against the Ravens, we said, yeah, we don't need you for that. We don't need you on the roster anymore. We cut him. And then, he had his little stint with the Buccaneers back when Brady first joined and they won that Super Bowl. I think he had around like 400 or 500 yards, but then got replaced by AB toward the second half of that season. You look at his more recent years, the last 4 years, he's only totaled 453 receiving yards. That's a little bit over 100 per season, 100 yards per season. And then Robert Woods, safe to say that his best days are behind him. Didn't take much for the Steelers to sign him. Vet minimum, 1 year, $2 million. So neither guy is expected to have that big of a role. Yet they're listed ahead of highly touted third-round pick and former college national champion Roman Wilson on the depth chart. For whatever reason, I guess you could have some sort of explanation there in saying that Roman Wilson hasn't proven anything. We're just going to give the nod to the veterans. Still a little concerning considering, again, what Scotty Miller has done over the last 4 seasons, what he did for the Steelers last year, and the fact that we cut him before the season ended. And Robert Woods is coming off of a couple lackluster seasons with the Texans, and we only signed him for basically the vet minimum. Meanwhile, Roman Wilson, we invested a third-round pick in, and honestly, you could have argued that he was worth a second-round pick in that 2023 draft. So it's like, bruh, I get maybe you want to say, hey, Roman's still got to prove it in training camp and preseason, but it's like, this is a little concerning. And what makes it worse, too, is Roman Wilson didn't prove anything in his rookie campaign. He didn't show the Steelers that, oh, man, you guys can't afford to not have me out there. Didn't do anything. Zero production. Barely played. And then, for Roman Wilson's sake, because I still, even if Roman Wilson doesn't play much this year, I still think our offense is going to be fine. I'm, again, going back to what I said right at the start, a little bit more just concerned for Roman Wilson and this potentially being another lost season for him. Because this offense, we still got Jonnu Smith. We got Freiermuth. Darnell Washington is becoming a target favorite for Aaron Rodgers. DK Metcalf. Calvin Austin. Like, the running back room as well. Kenneth Gainwell can be catching passes out the backfield. Jaylen Warren, capable of that as well. We've witnessed that. But you see all those, weapons on offense. And then if we have also Robert Woods and Scotty Miller ahead of Roman Wilson on the depth chart, it's like, man, if he doesn't build some serious rapport with Aaron Rodgers in training camp and in these preseason games, could get left behind. And this wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary. Shit like this happens all the time in the NFL. Current example would be John Mechie with the Texans. He was a second-round pick. Kind of got lost in the shuffle there with some of the additions they made at the receiver position. He unfortunately had to miss his rookie year because of a cancer diagnosis. But then he gets back, and Texans made other moves at receivers, and he gets buried on the depth chart. Isn't really able to build that much of a rapport with C.J. Stroud to that extent to where they have to have Mechie on the field. And he's just been chilling as like the 4th or 5th receiver on their depth chart. Because C.J. Stroud, Texans play caller, they have more faith than other guys. And then with Roman Wilson, he missed his rookie campaign due to injury. And then we have turnover in the quarterback room. So he's got to develop chemistry with a whole new guy in Aaron Rodgers. And you bring in other guys in the receiver room, like a Robert Woods. Scotty Miller comes back. And sometimes things just happen where a quarterback and another receiver build more chemistry than what the dynamic is supposed to be. And we saw it firsthand with Big Ben and Eli Rogers. Eli Rogers came out of nowhere his rookie year, became our third receiver. No one was expecting that, but he had a chemistry with Big Ben. And that counts more than where you were drafted and how much you're supposed to play because of where you're drafted. Chemistry with a Hall of Fame quarterback, that matters the most. Jericho Cotchery, remember him? Forgotten veteran. We randomly signed him midway through his career. And he comes in and has double-digit touchdowns, becomes our third receiver. No one was expecting that. He had chemistry with Big Ben. There are probably other young guys in that receiver room that was supposed to ascend that season. Didn't happen because Jericho Cotchery, Big Ben, built rapport. So same could potentially be said for Robert Woods and Scotty Miller having more rapport than Aaron Rodgers, than a Roman Wilson. Even though we want Roman Wilson to play, even though it's better for business, better for Steelers organization, if Aaron Rodgers has more faith than Robert Woods or Scotty Miller, then what are you going to do? It sucks for Roman Wilson. It also, after seeing how we have this depth chart organized, it does make me think we do need to make another receiver trade, because it hits a little different whenever DK Metcalf, you go DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, and then Robert Woods and Scotty Miller as your next guys. Yeah, I think we need an upgrade over Robert Woods and Scotty Miller. Now, I know we have all the tight ends. We still got the running backs. But we are in a similar situation to last year with the depth. And if DK Metcalf goes down, we're kind of screwed at the receiver spot. Kind of screwed. So it's not going to hurt us to go out there and make another receiver addition. Is it the splash move of bringing in Terry McLaurin? Because I'm seeing some trade proposals being thrown out there by the Athletics' Mike DeFabo. And remember how I was talking about it? Like, is it going to be a second-round pick and a player? Would that get it done? He thinks it could be a third-round pick and a player, and that player being Roman Wilson. Now, we kind of screwed ourselves there if that's a legitimate trade-off or a legitimate package that could be made, because we're making Roman Wilson look worse. We're kind of tanking his value by having him fifth on the depth chart. We should have put him at second if we're trying to make that type of trade. We should have put him at second just to bump up his value so we could talk him up to the Commanders. Like, bro, this is our second receiver we're giving you. Look at our depth chart. We're giving you our second receiver and a third-round pick. We're the ones stupid for making this trade. Like, we're foolish, but you know what? We're just going to do it anyway. Like, that's what we should be doing. But now, yeah, Roman Wilson stock down, fifth receiver on the depth chart. I also did see that we did actually, Omar Khan made the call. We did actually reach out to the Commanders. Chris Halleck of DK Pittsburgh Sports had a report on it, but still said that the trade is unlikely. And yeah, if he had to put money on it, it's just not going to happen, because a couple of the reasons he stated was that Terry McLaurin wants to be the bona fide number one receiver for whatever team he's on. DK and McLaurin would have the case for wide receiver one if they were on the same team. So you wouldn't be the hands down wide receiver one. You wouldn't be the guy that has distance between number one and number two. Like, I think there's a combo between a DK and McLaurin being number one. It's 1A, 1B probably each and every week. You could flip-flop between the two. And then he wants big-time money, like DK Metcalf type of money, potentially even more than DK Metcalf type of money, which we can afford. We could do that. Why not just the same number? How about that? I don't know how much I buy it, though. I don't know how much I buy that Terry McLaurin just wants to be number one. I'm sure if he goes to a good organization like us, a team that got the buzz going that we have right now, the defense, the stars on defense, Aaron Rodgers on offense, DK Metcalf, I'm sure McLaurin would be willing to put the ego aside, especially if we give him the contract that he wants. His numbers won't be going away. If anything, having a DK Metcalf across from you, it's going to help open things up. Like, you'll be just fine. And you got your money. So I don't know how much I buy that aspect of this, that McLaurin just wants to be number one. Because, bro, I don't know. I mean, there's there's a lot of teams now that are paying 2 receivers, like paying 2 top guys. Rams are doing it. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Commanders are trying to do it a little bit by trading for Deebo Samuel, and they have McLaurin already on the roster. Eagles, Bengals, potentially us if we make this McLaurin move. But, like, there's a lot of teams where you have 1A, 1B type of receiver situations, 2 alphas out of necessity. So, I don't know. I feel like McLaurin could see that, just where the nature of the league's going and how much things are getting slanted more towards offense. Dolphins had Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill down there. Now, obviously, Hill is the better receiver over Jalen Waddle, but those are 2,000-yard receivers right there. 2 top-end receivers on the same team. I have a hard time thinking Terry McLaurin would veto a trade because DK Metcalf's on the team. We're willing to give you the contract. You're going to be a part of a good organization. You got a chance to win it all. Vibes are high. Good offense. But DK Metcalf's here. No, I'm good. Let me go to the Jaguars so I could be wide receiver 1. Let me go to the Colts so I could be the bona fide wide receiver 1. But even if you go to the Colts, it's like they got Michael Pittman. Like, every team's got multiple receivers. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I would love it if the Steelers could pull it off, though. Even more so after seeing this depth chart and the fact that it doesn't seem like the Steelers are as high on Roman Wilson as what we've been getting led on. Other things with this depth chart, though, I wanted to talk about. Nothing that I think Roman Wilson being wide receiver 5 is the main story, but a couple other things. Will Howard locked in QB3, beat out Skylar Thompson. And it comes full circle, too, with their dynamic back in college, Kansas State. Will Howard came in as a freshman and backed up Skylar Thompson when Skylar Thompson was the starter at Kansas State. Jack Sawyer, DeMarvin Leal listed as, like, edge rusher number 4, like co-edge rusher number 4. The main interesting component of that is DeMarvin Leal. We've bumped him, like, officially off the defensive line for the depth chart. Now, maybe that's just because our defensive line's pretty busy with some of these names and additions that we've made. So, you know, it just looks cleaner on paper to have DeMarvin Leal at the edge rush spot because he'll still play DN. He'll still play interior. He's one of those versatile pieces. But his roster spot's definitely up in the air for the rest of this training camp and preseason. He's really going to have to compete for a spot on this 53. Secondary, whenever you look at it, you're just like, someone's getting cut. Someone notable is getting cut. We have too many names here and just not enough spots on the overall roster. Top 3, Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter, Darius Slay, Corey Trice, Brandon Echols, Beanie Bishop, and then James Pierre, Dante Kent as your 7-8. Dante Kent was a draft pick this year. James Pierre we're familiar with. Even Sebastian Castro, he's listed as the 5th safety, and a lot of people have been high on him. So there's going to be a couple big names. They're not big names. We'll say notable names getting cut in the secondary room. It's just going to have to happen. Going to have to. Corey Trice being banged up, that doesn't help him. James Pierre, we know he's limited in his ceiling. I would expect the final spot or so to be between Corey Trice, James Pierre, Dante Kent. I like Beanie Bishop coming back. Brandon Echols, we signed to a contract this offseason. You got your top 4 safeties, Juan Thornhill, Deshaun Elliott, Chuck Clark, Miles Killebrew. Like, we're keeping Killebrew even though he's not as much of an impact player on defense. We know what he brings to special teams. Like, those 4 safeties are making it. Obviously, Slay, Porter, Ramsey. So, like, that last spot or 2 is going to come down to Trice, Pierre, Kent, and Castro would be my guess. And 2 of those names are going to be gone. Maybe 3. Who knows? Yeah, it depends on how much defensive linemen or how many offensive linemen we want to keep versus guys in the secondary. You know, it becomes a numbers game. A couple other things. Actually, one more. One more thing. Running back. Kenneth Gainwell is listed over Caleb Johnson. We have Caleb Johnson as the 3rd guy. So if you're looking at the Roman Wilson situation, maybe you could point to the running back room and the fact that we have Caleb Johnson listed as the third guy and say the only reason we did that for Roman Wilson is because he just needs to prove more in training camp and in preseason. It's not a knock on the Steelers' belief or Tomlin's belief in Roman Wilson and what his expectations are this year. It's just that we want to see some plays happen rest of training camp and in these preseason games. That's all. Because Caleb Johnson, come on, we all know. We all know Caleb Johnson is going to be getting some serious reps this season. And I would get having Jaylen Warren ahead of him, but Kenneth Gainwell, come on, bro. Kenneth Gainwell, he's a scat back. He's, pass-catching back, third down back. Not a guy that you have above Caleb Johnson on the depth chart. That's all. Like, he's a featured piece in the offense, but Caleb Johnson has the potential to be our bell cow, even though it's not going to happen because we have Jaylen Warren. There's going to be some sort of split. But Caleb Johnson is one of those feature back type of guys. He has that archetype to his game. So, I'm not putting too much stock into that. So maybe I should be doing the same for Roman Wilson, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure. The Roman Wilson thing's, it's kind of weird. Kind of weird. And just the fact, too, he's got a new quarterback. There's other weapons that he's got to compete with, not just the receiver position for targets, like a Kenneth Gainwell, like a Jaylen Warren, like all the tight ends that Arthur Smith loves to utilize. So it might be tough, man. You might see him as like our 7th or 8th option when it's all said and done, if he's not able to build some serious rapport and gain some big-time faith from Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin. But that's it for today's show. I think that's all we really needed to go over. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Stay chilling. Peace.